Good morning, everyone. Yay. Wonderful to hear the conversation that's going on here in the sanctuary, the connections that are being made. And welcome to all those people that are sipping coffee, sitting in a comfy chair. Always good to see you people on Zoom. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, as you know, there's a lot more to Richmond Hill United Church than a worship service. A worship service is the kind of impetus, the spiritual motivation for us to do all sorts of other work within the community and beyond. So this afternoon, Forest Church will be going out into this glorious creation at 2 p.m. if you would like to meet at Lake Wilcox again, which is an absolutely beautiful spot. If you want to know some more details, Paula's going to wave at you. There you go. Have a word with Paula afterwards. And next Sunday is Palm Passion Sunday. We are moving into Holy Week. I have to just take a moment to think, wow, we are journeying through Lent and we are approaching Holy Week. So please take a look at the website next week and you'll see all the things that are happening. And this afternoon, something is going to ping into your inbox. It's about 2 special events that are coming up in April. And you've heard about Nadine and her musician friends that are doing a concert on the 15th. But there's a little video teaser of some of the amazing things that they are going to be playing. So click on that link and hear it. And I know that you will want to be there on the 15th. And you might not have heard about the April 29th event. You probably have seen people from the Iranian community, most particularly women, who are protesting and drawing attention to the huge inequities that are happening in Iran. If you are interested in understanding women, life, freedom in Iran, then you need to be here on April the 29th. It starts at 2:30, and again, there's more information that's going to be pinging into your inbox. If you are not yet signed up for the newsletter, please contact Deb at the office. We can help you out. We can help you get connected. So all of this is part of what we bring to worship today. You can see that the community candles have been lit on the table. You can see the glow of the candle of affirmation, of reconciliation and diversity, and the candle that shows us that we are trying to follow in the footsteps of Jesus. And now I'm going to invite Adam and Steve to place some stones by the cross, stones that are marking the path of our Lenten journey of contemplation. Thank you. These 5 stones remind us that we are in the 5th Sunday of Lent. They symbolize the times in our lives and on our journeys when we stumble, those times when we find it hard to continue. So may we, like Jesus, become living stones living stones of love and justice, marking that pathway forward. And today we are going to consider the contemplative practice of moving inward towards God and outward into the world through the labyrinth. And let us continue our gathering and our centering with some music from Barry. You. This building is a sanctuary. It's built upon traditional territories of Aboriginal peoples. It's located on our earth home, and we acknowledge the enduring presence of First Nations on this land, and that both they and the earth continue to cry out for justice. And we, as settlers on this land, have ignored these cries for far too long. And so today, we recommit to walking a path of repentance, of reconciliation, of healing. And we do that to ensure that we will never again use our power as a church to hurt others with attitudes of cultural or spiritual superiority. We promise to touch the earth gently so that all life is nurtured. I invite you to join with me in prayer. The part on the screen that you will see that is in bold is the piece that you share, and I will begin. So let us pray. God of the journey, we wander through life's wild places, hoping to find what we're searching for. Be with us when we stumble, listen to our questions, and stay near through our doubts and fears. As we search, as we journey, may we be enlivened by your presence. Be our water in the desert, our rainbow in the storm. Help us to walk this path with humility so that everyone travels with dignity. Help us to listen to the wisdom of travelers on the way and be strengthened. Amen. We are going to journey into a new hymn this morning. My soul is thirsting for you. It's found in More Voices. If you would like to follow along with the music, it's 109. Today we are going to listen to a parable of Jesus, and this one is only found in the Gospel of Luke, and it's part of a trilogy of things lost. There's a sheep, there's a coin, and a wayward son. And Jesus was telling these stories, at least in the way that it's placed by the writer of Luke, in response to more grumbling from the religious leaders. We often find in this journey in Lent, the closer we get to Jerusalem, the closer Jesus gets to Jerusalem, the more grumbling we hear about. So I'm going to invite Brandon to come on up and share this parable with us. I'm going to sit down because you need to get comfy for this one.
So from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, verses 11 to 32. Then he said, there was once a man who had 2 sons. The younger said to his father, Father, I want right now what's coming to me. So the father divided the property between them. It wasn't long before the younger son packed his bags and left for a distant country. There, undisciplined and dissipated, he wasted everything he had. After he had gone through all his money, there was a bad famine all through the country, and he began to feel it. He signed on with a citizen there who assigned him to his fields to slop the pigs. He was so hungry he would have eaten the corn cobs and the pig slop, but no one would give him any. That brought him to his senses. He said, all those farmhands working for my father sit down to 3 meals a day, and here I am starving to death. I'm going back to my father. I'll say to him, Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son. Take me on as a hired hand. He got right up and went home to his father. When he was still a long way off, his father saw him. His heart pounding, he ran out, embraced him, and kissed him. The son started his speech. Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son ever again. But the father wasn't listening. He was calling to the servants. Quick, bring a clean set of clothes and dress him. Put the family ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Then get a prize-winning heifer and roast it. We're going to feast. We're going to have a wonderful time. My son is here, given up for dead and now alive, given up for lost and now found. And they began to have a wondrous time. All this time, his older son was out in the field. When the day's work was done, he came in. As he approached the house, he heard the music and dancing. Calling over one of the houseboys, he asked what was going on. He told him, your brother came home. Your father has ordered a feast, barbecued beef, because he has him home safe and sound. The older brother stomped off in an angry sulk and refused to join in. His father came out and tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't listen. The son said, look how many years I've stayed here serving you, never giving you one moment of grief. But have you ever thrown a party for me and my friends? Then this son of yours who has thrown away your money on whores shows up and you go all out with a feast? His father said, son, you don't understand. You're with me all the time and everything that is mine is yours. But this is a wonderful time and we had to celebrate. This brother of yours was dead and he's alive. He was lost and he's found.
Thank you. So as that story sinks into our minds and our hearts, the choir are going to share an anthem that it is called "O Love." And it's written by Elaine Hagenberg. And these words might be familiar with you, with some of you perhaps. It begins with, "O love that will not let me go." Let us hear this beautiful piece of music. So how many people here have walked a labyrinth? Yay. Well, I've walked quite a few labyrinths too, and there are a couple that kind of stand out in my mind. One was at a retreat center in Nova Scotia, at the center of Tatamagouche. And this is a labyrinth that's kind of on that border of land and sea. And there's actually a river that comes down on one side. And then in Ontario, the labyrinth, which is now at another retreat center at Five Oaks, which is also at the confluence of two rivers, two waterways. It is a sacred place for Indigenous peoples. It is a thin space where the physical and the spiritual are closely and deeply experienced. And I hope that you have images in your mind of the labyrinths that you have walked and perhaps reconnecting with the feelings that you had as you walked those labyrinths. Now, the labyrinth is an ancient symbol. It's again circular, but it is more than that. It is a symbol of wholeness, and it has a meandering but purposeful path. Labyrinth is not a maze. A labyrinth represents a spiritual journey, a journey where we go into the center of our being, and then we come back out into the world. We might experience the sacred along the way, and that is why the labyrinth has been used as meditation and for prayer. And what we're going to do today, well, we're going to do a few things with the labyrinth, but we're going to start off by using the pattern of the labyrinth as a way of exploring that parable that Brandon shared with us just now. And we're going to think about the perspective of the youngest son, which is the main character, and to begin with the father. And we're going to just focus on the pivotal points of the story, just like the labyrinth. We're going to look at the starting point where you enter into the labyrinth. Then we're going to consider what that central turning point might be. That's in the center of the labyrinth. And then the coming out. So the starting point. The starting point was the main character of this younger son. And he had made a decision. He wants to leave home. Well, he could have just gone and made his own way in the world. He doesn't really want the support and continued relationship of his family right now, but he does want the money. He's portrayed as rather self-focused, entitled, doesn't really consider the effects that his decision might have on others. And then you've got the father at this starting point. And he hasn't got an easy choice, has he? In a sense, he is being kind of forced into a decision. Okay, so do I give my son the inheritance or don't I? And he decides to say yes. And I wonder about that. I wonder about that saying yes. What was that all about? Perhaps he was thinking this might be an opportunity where my son would eventually take responsibility. Now he has some resources and can make his own choices, and perhaps he will do well. I would imagine that this father, definitely this parent, feels conflicted. And maybe he is just tired of the arguments. I can imagine that there have been a lot of arguments along the way. And perhaps this is his long-held pattern of giving in to his youngest son's demands. And this is the latest of those. And if we think about that labyrinth pattern, let us move into the center. Let us move into what is the point of reflection? What is the point of turning? What is it that takes us back out? And that is different for every single character in this story, but also for each one of us. We might have a similar initial experience, but how we walk that, what we do with it, what it is that turns us around, what changes our way of being can be quite different. Because each of our journeys, a journey that is emotional and spiritual and physical, is unique to each one of us because we bring different things to that journey. So in this Jesus parable, the youngest son has hit rock bottom. He's in a field far from home, working with the pigs, and this is where he gets his wake-up call. This is the central change point where he's responsibility for his mistakes. He wants to apologize. He wants to make amends to his father, at least. And then what happens when he makes that journey back? Well, his father sees him and he is just filled with joy. Whatever other thoughts were in his mind just go whooshing out, and he's just thrilled to have his son returning. What he isn't doing is thinking about how are other people going to be impacted by this? So if we consider the labyrinth as a tool for contemplation and reflection, then probably the dad hasn't quite come to that central turning point yet, or at least we're not told about it in the story. Maybe it takes him a little bit longer to look at the bigger picture, to have an inkling of the effects that this might have, for example, on his eldest son. We get an inkling that he's beginning to think about that when he says, "All that I have is yours. Your brother was lost, but now he's found." So what is it that is taking us out of this story? What is the end of the labyrinth experience that offers us wisdom, learning, maybe an experience of the sacred that will help us in our lives? The youngest son has set his intention of going back and acting differently. He has apologized. He is willing to work as a farm laborer. His intention was to change. But do you think his dad will let him? Will he respect that decision? Or will he treat him like he always has, a doted upon favorite? And what about that older brother? He resents the attention that his younger brother is getting, and I think many of us can connect with that. He's stayed at home, he's worked, he's done everything that was asked of him. And meanwhile, his younger brother has just squandered everything that he's had. But when he returns, he has an amazing party in his honor. It makes me think about the ways that sometimes we allow ourselves to be shaped by what we don't have, rather than living from a place of abundance and gratitude. It's not always easy. It particularly is hard when we feel disrespected and ignored by others. But those feelings don't actually take away the many positive things that are often a part of our lives. And I think that's why Jesus keeps on going back again and again and again and saying the central tenet of how we live our lives must be love. We must make love the center. Love of God and love of neighbor, loving neighbor as you love yourself. Again, not easy. And that's why people over the centuries have developed spiritual practices and contemplative practices to try and help us with this journey. And the labyrinth is particularly one of those, because often you take into your walk of the labyrinth a conundrum, something that you are struggling with in your life. It might be to do with your work life, your family relationships, might be to do with health, anything that you take into this labyrinth walk. And the idea is that in this spiritual practice, it engages not only your mind and your spirit, but your physical being. I bet there are quite a few of you that go out for a walk when you're struggling with something, or go for a run, or go into the pool, or whatever it is. Get out on your Pilates mat, whatever it is. Because when we move our bodies, something is released. Often we see things a little bit differently. The labyrinth gives us a little bit of time to pause and think and reflect. And as I said, you can't lose your way in the labyrinth. You really cannot. You go in and you come out, and hopefully you come out with something different. And I love this quote from Stephen Covey. He says, "We're not human beings on a spiritual journey. We're spiritual beings on a human." I know I've shared that with you before, but I think that that little bit of a twist is really pivotal in helping us, that we are spiritual beings, all of us, and we're on a human journey. So as with nearly all of these contemplative practices that we have been exploring a little bit, the practice of walking the labyrinth is ancient. It originated well before Christianity came into being. If you think about the mythical figure of the story of the Minotaur that dwelt on the island of Crete in the center of a labyrinth, and that labyrinth was a 7-circuit pattern, which is the oldest and most universal symbol of the labyrinth. The one that some of you are holding or that you got into your inbox, that is a slightly more complex labyrinth. So let's think about this 7-circuit pattern. It's found as early as the Bronze Age. There are still carvings that you can see in Val Carmenica in Italy, in Goa, in India. You can still see the patterns that were etched on the rocks by the ancient indigenous peoples of Peru, of the Anasazi, a First Nation. You can see those in the Arizona region. So I invite you to imagine a Mediterranean island. Even if you've never been, just imagine a Mediterranean. This is actually Sardinia, but it doesn't matter. You are going back 3,500 years, and you are a mourner in a funeral procession and winding deep into a stone cavern. It's a burial chamber. Torches flicker in the tomb, throwing into relief a petroglyph in the pattern of a labyrinth. And as the burial ceremony begins to unfold, you find your eyes drawn to this pattern. You find comfort in your grief, knowing that this offers a map through death and rebirth for your friend that has recently died. I said that not all labyrinths are a seven-circle pattern. When Christianity took on this contemplative practice, we did some jiggling and changing. Are you hearing me? Yes, okay, good. And in the cathedral in Chartres Cathedral in France, there was a labyrinth that was created in the stone in the 13th century. And this one has 11 concentric paths, and it's got 4 quadrants to it. And in the middle is a distinctly Christian pattern. There is a rosette, which symbolizes Mary. And those quadrants form a cross. So if you have ever gone into this cathedral, has anybody walked this particular labyrinth? There you go, Craig has. So you can speak to Craig and tell you all about it. One of the things about the labyrinth is it also has the stained glass windows. I had shared the stained glass window last week, the rose window that is a part of it. And one of the things that I found in my research that I didn't know about labyrinths in this early time was that they were put into cathedrals and churches, and it was a way of a pilgrimage. Instead of going to Jerusalem, instead of making the journey to the holy city of Jerusalem, which many early Christians made a promise to do, and for those people that it just became impossible, maybe the journey was too long, it was certainly very expensive, so that other ways of making that journey were found, and a labyrinth was one of those. And there was a lot of preparation, there was a lot of thought, there was a lot of prayer that went into walking a labyrinth in one of those cathedrals. Now, I have shared with you a pattern of a labyrinth. It is a finger labyrinth. And I invite you to take it with you and choose some time this week. Those of you that are on Zoom, you got the attachment. There is a labyrinth attached to the worship service resources, but you can Google a labyrinth and you will get the pattern. And take some time to follow that pattern. Set an intention, take something in with you as you journey, and see what happens as you reach the center and come back out. And perhaps even better, find a labyrinth close to you, or one that you know, and take some time to walk it. I had forgotten, I live where the River Humber enters the lake, and I was crossing over the bridge on Friday, and I looked down, and there was a labyrinth. I actually did know that it was there, but I'd forgotten. So you might find in some little park, or maybe lots of hospitals have labyrinths now. See if you can find a labyrinth. Take some time and walk it. See what happens. Make it a part of your spiritual journey this week. And if not this week, some other time. That would be good. Because walking helps us to meet important needs, our spiritual needs, connecting with our soul. integrating our body and mind and spirit, and opening ourselves to experience the sacred within. And if you're outside, the sacred in the world. So we are also going to sing a pathway. Maybe it's not quite a labyrinth, but that's okay. This hymn is called One More Step. It was written by Joyce Poley, and the words and music are not in your hymn books. So you are going to follow Barry and the choir, and the words will be on the screen. I invite the welcome team to begin to take our offering as we think about the many things that we have to offer, not only to this faith community of Richmond Hill United Church, but to our earth home, to the world. What is it that we can take into our lives? So let the offering be received. I invite Doug Lois to come and share and lead us in the prayers of the people.
Friends, let us prepare to come together to lift up our thanksgiving and lay down our concerns. God of everything we have carried in our lives this week, you are the love that will not let us go. We are thankful for so much in our lives, the beauty of this new day and the world around us, the chance to share this time in this place with friends old and friends new. We are thankful for our brothers and sisters of other faiths celebrating this week the Baha'i festival of Nowruz, the start of the Hindu festival of Navaratri, and the month of Ramadan. We are thankful for peace in our nation and the opportunities that come with peace for breaking down barriers to inclusion and justice in our communities. We applaud change makers like the Manitoba First Nation pushing for better control of drug trafficking on their territory, which threatens their youth, and the organizers of events for women, freedom, and life. We applaud emerging programs that teach Indigenous languages to Indigenous and non-Indigenous learners, and a program that supports families who want to bring up their children speaking the Mohawk language. We're thankful for our friends and our families of all kinds who help us to magnify joyful times and to share and soften sad ones. But the things for which we are thankful are never enjoyed by all, and we are frail and easily hurt. So we also bring our needs and our concerns. O love that will not let us go, we grieve for the lives lost in a tornado of unprecedented size in the United States. We are angered and frightened by threats to locate tactical nuclear arms in Belarus. Events on a world scale weigh heavy on our hearts. We wonder what anyone can do to push back. And we've carried that this week too. O love that will not let us go, may your healing presence gently transform the places in our lives where we are holding pain. May your loving presence be a comfort for those of us who feel trapped in despair, resentment, or feel lost or alone. May your transforming presence create generosity in place of greed, understanding where there is only shouting, and justice where there is oppression. Especially today, we bring our concern for our sister Zoe in palliative care and her friends and family. And we remember with longing all those whose loss to us still feels recent and sharp. O love that will not let us go, from the silence of our own hearts, we bring now before you people and places in our lives that need your healing, your loving, and your transforming presence. Amen. And now we will sing together the words Jesus taught us. Our Father, in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come.
Next Sunday is Palm Passion Sunday, which takes us into the journey of Holy Week. And then we have Easter Sunday. And I was talking to Joanne this morning, and she was saying how thrilled she was with the response to an opportunity to help to decorate the sanctuary on Easter Sunday, to make a donation for flowers that are in celebration and in memory that will just beautify our worship. So this is your last opportunity. Joanne is going to be present in Centennial Hall. Yep, okay, in Centennial Hall, and will take your name and donation if you wish to participate. But thank you for all those that have. It's been, seems like quite a wonderful experience, Joanne, just to be with people and receive. Yes, that's great. Good. So let us join our voices in our final hymn this morning. It's Voices United 702, When a Poor One. I wonder where that road will take us this week, what we will encounter along the way, what people we might get to know. I hope that you are able to take some pause moments, maybe find that labyrinth, go into your center, and then come out into the world and see what transformation takes place. So let us sing our blessing between darkness and light. Did have the paper labyrinth with some instructions about how to engage. Choir, if you would like a copy, or some people didn't get it, I'm just going to pop it on the end of the piano there. So go in peace and live peace in the world.